And if you want to attract an audience, which is building your following, you need to put out things that they actually want. It's not about all what you want. So if you want to do it intelligently, this is the main principle and the main rule of, building a channel.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to My Social Life. I'm your host, Jacob Kelly. As always, today's podcast is powered by Surf. And this is the podcast where we teach you how to grow on social media by talking to people that have actually done it. People like Tanner Weidman, whose YouTube account, Barbarianbody, has over 920,000 subscribers at the time of this recording. Tanner, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I'm happy to be here.
I'm excited to have you here, man. Where I want to start today, I'm curious, who were you before YouTube?
So before YouTube, I was somebody that was obviously interested in fitness since about the age of 11. So when it came time to getting through midway through high school, it's like, okay, what's the career that you're going to get into? What type of a thing? My dad had initially said, well, what about we try, get into the trades? That's going to be a good, safe option for you. And I was like, okay, I guess. And, did a couple of classes for that in high school. Just found it really wasn't for me. So the next obvious decision was, okay, well, what are you passionate about? And fitness was my main thing. It's been my main thing for so long. So that's when I came to the decision, okay, well, what about we go and pursue that as a career path? Well, at the time when I was starting this, back even before I started Barbarianbody, at the time I was deciding this would have been like 2010, 2011. And yeah, there was quote unquote influencers or people building their brands online using social media, but it was extremely rare and it didn't seem like such a feasible option. So the only thing in my mind at the time was, all right, well, I guess I'll be a personal trainer, in a gym setting or in a home setting. So that's what I tried to do initially. So before Barbarianbody, it was being a in-gym personal trainer and an in-home personal trainer as well.
And then correct me if I'm wrong, the original plan for Barbarianbody wasn't technically a YouTube channel, right? Was it meal plans online and it was called like Fit Fast, I believe?
That is absolutely correct. I don't know. I must have made a video about that somewhere, but yeah, exactly. I'd created a meal plan software. That was initially what it was going to be. And yeah, there was no plan to go to YouTube or to do that. It was just like, okay, well, how do I market this product? Go to Google, type online, how do I market a product? Well, make a YouTube channel.
And part of that too, when you start Fit Fast originally, correct me if I'm wrong, but you did some like local entrepreneurship program or something and ended up getting kicked out of that program?
Yes, I did in fact have that happen. So there was a local program that we had. And yeah, at this point I was making like, $0. This was like, it was $150 a month if it was really, really minimal. And I was living off of that. And I had just left my parents' house for like the 6th time. I moved in and out. But this was supposed to be the last time. And it was the last time too. So rolling off $150 a month, I was like, well, how am I going to get more money to support myself for rent, etc.? And, how can I learn how to be an entrepreneur at the same time, build a business? So I went through my local resources, found a program, joined that program for the initial part. After a few weeks, you got to put together some form of a business plan, present why you think you'd be a good fit for the program so they can give you a little bit of funding. It's very, very minimal. And it's pretty much just enough to give you money to afford your rent, your food, etc. And then you let the business drive the revenue. But yeah, after a few weeks, I remember the guy in there, I think he was like some 75-year-old guy. And he just sat me down and he goes, this really isn't going to be the program for you. I'm sorry to say, it just doesn't seem like you have what it takes to be an entrepreneur. And it's because they didn't understand online services or online products or creating an online brand. And in fact, not a lot of people did at that time either. So yeah, I got kicked out of that one. One of my favorite scars that I have.
As you said, not a lot of people did understand at that time. So what are your friends and family thinking at the time when you're starting to film all these videos?
No one believed me. My parents have admitted that they were very concerned. They said, we didn't think you'd be able to do it. And you didn't have a backup plan. And my friends too, none of them. In fact, a lot of them tell me all the time, oh man, when you were doing Fit Fast, when you first started that, I was like, what is he doing? This is not going to work. I get told this all of the time. Pretty much nobody, except for a couple of people, just like literally a couple, 1-2 people believed in me, but No, no one believed in me. They thought it was just wild.
And so what keeps you going in that moment? When I correct me if I'm wrong, around this time, all your friends are going away to school too, right? So you're back at home trying to build this business. No one's really believing in you. How do you keep going? Because I feel like for a lot of people, that's difficult and that could cause a lot of people to give up. So why didn't you?
Well, the main thing that always kept me going is this vision of how a movie character arc goes with the main character. So the main character always goes through such a shitty beginning part. It's meant to be challenging, it's meant to suck, and it's supposed to get you to relate to a character. But when you see that in the movies and you're going through it, you're like, well, okay, this is just part of the plot. I've got to live similarly to this. I got to make a good story. And what way to have a good story than to go through really bad times when you're getting kicked out of things, when you barely have money for food. Like, I mean, there was several weeks where all I had was, this was even before I was making $150 a month. Like, I only had $7 and I had to make that stretch for a week. And I just ate straight ramen noodles because they were like 33 cents a pack. So the thing that kept me going was pure stubbornness, this belief in myself. And this belief wasn't just, it was partially naturally there, but it was also nurtured. It was always when I'd go for walks and I'd be thinking about it. This is how I want things to go. This is how I want my story to go. I kind of reveled, if that's the word, in that really low phase because I'm like, when I get out of this and it finally works, this is going to make for a really cool story. So self-belief and then looking at it like it's part of the story.
I love that. And so what are some of those things you're doing like in the beginning to try and get traction on the channel? Like is there a strategy or are you just kind of throwing everything up there and seeing what sticks?
No strategy at the beginning. It was horrible. And in fact, in the first 6 or 7 months, it was after about month 6 or month 7 of consistently posting, nothing was happening. And I got to this point where I said to myself and a couple of other people, I don't know if I have it. I don't know if I have the ability to do this. Like, this is a lot harder than I ever imagined. And it was at that point, it's like, okay, well, I got to figure this out. What am I going to do to get this to actually work? Well, let's start really researching how to create this and how to come up with a proper strategy as opposed to grinding, putting it out, doing whatever you can, and let's get smart with it. And that's when I started strategizing, okay, let's get into SEO marketing. So go on YouTube and type in, how to grow a YouTube channel. And, then I learned about, okay, you got to have the proper tags, the proper title, the proper keywords or tags, description as well. And it was once I got to that point right there that I started to make shifts in the way that I was creating the content, how I came up with topics, and then also how to optimize it so that there would be growth. But it took me like 6, 7 months of doing this, all completely burning myself out and almost failing to get to that. So if there's a lesson in that for anybody, it's when you're trying to do this stuff, don't just stubbornly go as hard as you can. Try to find the resources or the help from other people in the industry to get you there with the right information.
I love that. And just having a strategy, because I feel like so many people don't have a strategy. And even if it's the wrong strategy, that's going to help you figure out what's not working and point you in the right direction. But when you don't have a strategy, you don't necessarily know what's working and what's not. So I really, really like that. And so you said it took around 7, 8 months or so before things really start to kind of turn that corner. And it was around that time as well, I believe, you set the goal of yourself to have 1 million subscribers, which seemed like a crazy goal probably at the time. I mean, now fast forward to today, you're closing in on that goal. But where did you get kind of the ambition to set us a goal that big when you're still so early?
I had no idea. It just came in my mind. I remember where I was filming it too. I had a in-home personal training client, and they kind of let me live there actually 5 days a week. It was crazy because I then became sort of I was their personal assistant. But I was driving one of their cars back to the office. And just before I was sitting in the car and I pulled out Snapchat and I made this video for my story. I'm like, it's not working right now. I'm not getting the views that I want, but at some point I'm going to have 1 million subscribers. I remember sitting there right in front of it. Where that thought came from, I have no idea. I feel like the people that become successful or are successful or can build something, you kind of just have this sort of like a silver lining, tiny, tiny belief in the back of your head. Like, I think I'm meant for something bigger and something better. And it was just that. And then I don't know why I decided to put that out with such small amount of subscribers at that point. But that is, I guess, what made me do it. I don't really have any other reasoning behind that.
No, that's fair. Sometimes there's no like tangible reason. It's just something deep down innate that comes to us, like you said. And I'm curious for a lot of the early content creators or people that are very early in their journey, to save them some time, what are some things you think you did wrong early on that looking back now, if you were to start over again, you'd be like, oh, I would never do that?
Putting out content that only I wanted, or content that I only thought was clever or that I thought was good. By doing that, you don't understand your audience. And if you want to attract an audience, which is building your following, you need to put out things that they actually want. It's not about all what you want. So if you want to do it intelligently, this is the main principle and the main rule of building a channel, building a brand, and that's going to be reverse engineering. So go over to other creators in your niche. So if you're in, let's say, well, I'll just use the fitness niche, for example. If you're in the fitness niche, go to one of the top creators, or go to several of the top creators in your niche. Go to their YouTube channel, filter out their videos by most popular, and then you'll see their videos with like 8 million views, 4 million views, 3 million views. Those are the topics that your audience is actually interested in, or your desired audience if you don't have one at the time. So you want to go about and make content on those topics. It's not you stealing ideas. We're just looking for content topics, especially if it comes to like how-tos or educational, the same way that worked with fitness, and go ahead and choose content like that. Don't just sit down one day randomly by yourself and say, what do I want to film today? Oh, you know what? I'm going to make an exercise that is going to train your serratus. Nobody cares. You might, but you're not going to get the viewership or the traction. And after months of doing that for a long time and nothing's really happening for you, you're going to get to the point where you're going to be like, maybe I'll quit. So find topic content, find topic ideas that have already been proven on other channels and apply them to your own.
So how do you kind of balance creating specifically for what your audience wants to see versus making sure you still enjoy creating the content? Because I feel like if you're also just creating for the views, that'll burn yourself out as well. So how do you balance those two things?
So when you're doing that, so you're going to go through a bunch of different channels, right? And you're going to find all the different content ideas that not only are just huge and they've gotten big views. You pick the ones that you think you're going to be able to, one, enjoy the most. Don't just pick something that you don't enjoy. I highly advise against it, because when you start doing things you don't like, just because of the viewership, your content comes out poor. You're not down to put in as much time as is required to make good content. But also pick content that you think that you're going to be able to present a unique angle on, or more information, make it more entertaining, more funny, whatever you can. So it's not about just picking content. It's never about picking content ideas that are just for the views. You want to pick the content ideas that are going to be best fit for you, that you enjoy, that are additionally already successfully proven other places.
But also back to your original point too, like if you have the ambition of growing an audience, you can't just have the audacity of thinking what you like is going to work. So it's picking that interest that you have already and finding what works in that interest. I really, really like that. And so for you, it was fitness. And I'm curious what the first video you posted that really kind of popped and took off, kind of like that first real validator for you.
It was my video, the 10 best resistance band exercises. And that was the first video that got to 10,000 views. I remember when I got to 10,000 views, I was just in a warehouse where I was working at as an assistant. I quote unquote that because it encompassed many different tasks. The primary thing was a personal assistant. And I remember scrolling through my phone. I'm like, oh, I just hit my first 10,000 view video. And yeah, it was a resistance band workout video, which now is like, I think 750,000 if I'm correct.
I've talked to a lot of different TikTokers, and they say when your first video pops off, you got to kind of like double down on that. So in your case, when your top 10 resistance band workout videos pops off, do you then double down on that? Or like, what are the lessons you pull from that video that starts doing well that you can then apply to future videos?
No, I was really dumb when I started. So I just kept putting out, even at that point, I wasn't like, let's strategize fully at that point. Like, what are the best content types? At that point, when I got that video, it was mostly luck. More so of the optimizing of the content and finding proven content ideas was a little bit later. So I kept still kind of just putting out videos that were just whatever I thought of at the top of my head. So I had to get, again, then lucky with another topic, which was my second viral video that actually turned into a viral video, which was how to reduce lower belly fat. So I got lucky in that sense. I was stubbornly going at it. There wasn't really strategy at that point. So again, lesson to learn, optimize your content ideas and topic ideas.
So I'm assuming, because normally I ask too, once your first video pops off, if you had pressure to follow that up. Did you start to feel that early on with that 10K video? Like, oh man, if my next video doesn't hit 10K, like that's a disappointment. Like, was there pressure after that first one?
No, not then. I never really did in the earlier stages at all. I guess I was lucky for that. It was more so excitement, because once I had, it wasn't that one, it was the second video that I mentioned, how to reduce lower belly fat. That one really took off. And that's the thing that took my channel off. Um, at that point, the only thought in my head was, wow, I'm going to be able to move out of my parents' house. And what kind of apartment can I get where I can make this full time and just create content? It was just, instead of focusing on, those downsides of it, it was like excitement for the next aspect so that I could make better content. Because when you put the pressure on you, again, it displays itself in the content. It doesn't seem as quality.
And so at what point then did you take that jump to full time? Was it shortly after that second video, or was it a little bit longer than that?
No, it took me probably like, I think it was on year 1.5, maybe year 2. And I had finally gotten my apartment that I needed. And it was a really crappy apartment, but I was making a certain amount of money at that point, and I was finally able to quit my job. There's a story of that, but I'll leave that out. But yeah, it was at that moment that I was able to do it. And that was with a combination of YouTube ad revenue with product sales. And as well, I had one personal training client outside that I would train in his home gym, actually, where I filmed all of my beginning Barbarianbody videos. That was the family that I lived with as well. And so I kept him as a side income as well to support, the main one. So I think about year 1.5, year 2.
How many subs did you have at that time? Around the 100K mark?
Yeah. I definitely did. I think it was like exactly around the 100K mark.
Oh, so how did it feel to hit 100K first off?
Yeah, that one was pretty cool. For some reason, that one never really was like, I don't know. I guess those vanity metrics like that really didn't matter so much to me. It was more so when I was able to do it full time. It's like, I'm free. I broke the chains of corporate, and honestly, I had no backup idea. So if this did not work for me, if I didn't learn the skills that I've learned in building this, and now, being able to teach other people how to do this stuff with HyperGrow, then I'd be totally screwed. The most exhilarating part was financial freedom, quote unquote. At the beginning, it was tiny financial freedom, but being able to pretty much be like, I can do whatever I want today, and it's going to be on task with my goals. Nobody's going to be able to tell me what to do. That feeling, though, out of this world.
So when you made that jump, were you just purely looking at the amount of money you're making every single month to know when it was time to take that jump, or were there other factors that were involved that led to you deciding to take that jump? Like, first, was it just money?
Just money. I was just looking at it. I'm like, can I do it now? Can I do it now? Can I do it? And I had to ask a couple of friends, because sometimes I jump into things a little bit too early, or I do it a little bit not intelligently, or at least I used to at that point. So I needed some external validation. Like, yeah, with that much money, you can definitely do it. So yeah, it was a monetary mark. I can't remember exactly how much it is off the top of my head right now, but it was pretty much just like cover the bills, have like the tiniest amount of spending money, and then you're good to go. Jump ship.
And so what year was that when you had the 100K mark? Was that 2017, 2018?
Yeah, I think it was 2018 exactly. 2018, it was probably like February of 2018, if I could. Yeah, it would have been exactly it. I'm surprised I remember.
So February 2018, you got 100K. And then talking about growth from that point on, was growth, because like from my understanding, as you grow on YouTube, it just kind of snowballs. So the bigger you get, the easier growth becomes. So was growth from that point relatively just kind of a nice incline? Was it up and down? Like, what was that like for you?
Typically for most people, the way that my channel has worked has seemingly been so much stranger than everybody else's. No, after that first part, it was just kind of like stagnant. But then I got on this content strategy of posting 1 to 2 times per week. So a total of 4 to 7-ish videos per month. And that's when I had optimized finally. After it took, again, a few months still, even after that 100K, to like really get down in my head, okay, do the proper content topics. I always partially knew, and I do it every now and then. Man, I was really terrible at this when I first started. So no, at that point, it was just kind of like stagnant. But then once I locked in, and it was at the end of 2018, so it would have been 7 months past that, that's when I started to get a lot of high view videos consistently, high view. And yeah, so there's like a 7-month kind of like dead zone or twilight zone, I guess.
And so that after that 7 months, when things start to pick up again, is it just purely focusing on the content and the ideas? Is there anything else that can attribute to that growth?
Learning, a lot of learning. I have gone through the most learning at that point. So that included, going through courses, online, free courses, paid courses, mentorship as well for coaching. Not a ton of mentorship, but a lot of that, and a lot of reading. There was a lot of external sources and things that seemingly did not connect with growing a YouTube channel or building a business that really sort of kind of intertwined and dwindled down all into each other. So it was when I was going through and I was listening to podcasts all the time, sort of like yours, Jacob, and listening to YouTube videos about how to grow and how to do this stuff. That's when I was taking in all of that information simultaneously and reading a lot of books and audiobooks. That seems to be one of the biggest factors for the growth of that time, because that stretch or that run went on for a decent amount of time.
Are there any books or courses or podcasts that you can recommend that people check out?
Yeah, when it comes to books, my favorite book of all time, The One Thing by Gary Keller. Basically determine what's your big domino. What's the one thing that by doing it today makes everything else easier or obsolete, helps you to narrow in on what's the main thing getting you ROI, and what's the other things that you're wasting a ton of your time on that is not moving the needle for you. Pretty much Pareto's principle. When it comes to podcasts, Russell Brunson's Marketing Secrets was always really good for me. There was this guy, Ben Settle, who he did all this email copywriting, and I was building an email list at that point as well. And with that email list, that's really what helped me to kind of get out of, or allowed me to, send proper emails that drove product sales. So Ben Settle's podcast as well. And Alex Becker, I'm not sure if you know who he is, absolute machine of marketing. So I learned tons from him. I've gone into, I bought a lot of his courses and watched his videos tons. And then, I think those ones were like primarily the main things at that time that really helped me to really go up.
Yeah. And so you mentioned the email list there. Are you still building that today?
Actually, no, I kind of stopped doing that because I offer a free trial to my product. So if I guess I do technically still do that. I was thinking now I probably should, because most of my focus now is on trying to explain the process of building these things, because simultaneously as I am doing Barbarianbody, it runs almost autonomously. It requires less than 4 hours of work per week. So now I've got all this free time to do stuff like this, where I can come online or on a podcast with you and explain this type of information. So in that essence for Barbarianbody, I guess I kind of am still with the free trials, but with this new business, HyperGrow, where I'm teaching everything, that is now where I am collecting emails. And honestly, that's your bread and butter, because you will have your time with a social media platform. You'll be crushing it. Some people have the luck of crushing it for like 6, 7, 8 years. Other people, they've got their window. You got your window of maybe, 2, 3 years. Maybe some people have 1 year. But when that platform goes away, you still have your email list. Or when your views are low, you still have your email list. And honestly, when you can reach out to customers directly, send them product information, mention content as well, so that you can drive traffic to your content, it is one of the most greatest saving graces that you can have in a social media business or any business.
Of course. So how did you grow your email list? Was it mentioning it in videos? Was it doing it? Like, how were you able to build up a substantial subscriber base?
So you need a good lead magnet, and a lead magnet is offering something for free in exchange for their email address. So one of the best things that I had was I created this 8-part mini series of like a free mini course, essentially, about training, about diet. And then I mentioned it in like all of my videos. It was always in my description. I had added it in my first pinned comment on videos way back in the day. And that's what really helped me to drive up a significant amount of subscribers at that point. So pretty much offer them value, offer them something they really want. Because if you're just the guy that's like, oh, join my newsletter for updates, your conversions are going to be, they're going to be terrible. But if you're offering them something they really want, that really gives them value, that you could actually sell, that's how you can actually build an email list and do it like super easily.
So how do you decide what to sell versus what to give away for free?
So I had at that time a product. I had a couple products that I had already created, and they were full step-by-step programs, fitness programs with like video explainers of things and like demonstrating exercises, printable workout sheets that were like pages and pages long with exercises, blank spots where they could fill in all the numbers, etc. A recipe book as well. Once I had those products, I was like, okay, these really have significant tangible value. So now let me create kind of like a Mickey Mouse version of this not quite as in depth, but maybe with a couple of printables here, just explainers, but I'm not walking through the actual workouts or the exercises, but giving a brief analysis over everything. That was kind of how I made that distinction. And I'll mention this too. When I created that free course, it was to give value, but it also had another purpose for it too. Yeah, I was getting them on my email list, but inside of those, I kind of used them as VSLs or a video sales letter. Yeah, I was giving them the value that they wanted, but at the end too, I was like, hey, if you want, join this program. There's going to be a link in the description or the link below this video because it wasn't on YouTube, and here's a coupon code as well. So you can use it as a double-edged sword there, and that will benefit you more. But yeah, just kind of make it like just a little bit more or a decent amount more watered down version of your main product, but still make sure you're providing value. You don't want to just give out nothing in exchange for an email address because they'll never open your emails.
And then so once somebody joins your email list, they get the freebie, they get that value up front. What do you send them after the fact to kind of nurture that relationship so they don't just show up once, get the freebie, and are gone after that?
With that, you want to have an email sequence already created. So first email, I always like to be like, okay, here's what Barbarianbody is. Here's who I am. Here's my story. Kind of similarly to the stories I've been telling you here about, how I went from being dead broke and kicked out of a program. Explain who you are. You want to develop a more in-depth relationship. That's going to be the most important thing. You might have the best info in the world, but people might not buy it. However, you could have a significantly less better quality product than the best thing in the world. But because people relate with your story, because they like you, because they're able to see that you're a true human being, that's what's going to get them to purchase off you. So that would be my first email. That one would be definitely the most important. The second one would be value providing. So I give them, a step-by-step article about a workout. Third would be value providing. Fourth would be value providing. And again, these are already put into an email sequence: day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, then day 5, day 6, day 7, and day 8, if I can remember, were sales emails. So they'd be like, hey, if you want this product, I'll give you this deal, I'll give you this discount. And then from there, just continuously sending them new content that you're putting out either on YouTube, or I guess you could do it with TikTok too, but my strategy was, with YouTube.
Oh, did you send like a monthly newsletter or anything like that? Or was it mainly just these email sequences? Like beyond that first 10 days, did you have like a consistent thing that people were getting to kind of just continue touching base? Or was it just kind of whenever something came up?
Yeah, I didn't really follow too much of a structure with mine. I just pretty much, whenever I'd put out a YouTube video, I'd immediately send an email to the list right away. One, they want that information. YouTube doesn't always show them that the videos are there. So it's good to let them know. A lot of people are thankful for it. But also the purpose for that is as soon as you post a video, you send the email. Now you're getting link clicks over to the video, which, lets YouTube know, okay, this is interesting. People are coming from external sources. So I would always do that with my content. And then, maybe like once every 2 months or once every month and a half, I would do another sales email and, give them a deal or something. If it's New Year's or, what other holidays we have, January 1st, I guess New Year's, Black Friday, things like that. I didn't really have too much of a strategy with it. I kind of just went with whenever I feel like I want to send an email outside of the email sequence, I'll go ahead and do it if I'm providing value or if I'm giving them, a good discount.
Okay. And so you mentioned earlier, I want to circle back to saying Barbarianbody now takes you about 4 hours a week worth of output. So how do you get to that point? Because as early creators listening to this, they're like, 4 hours just seems like impossible doing everything. You got to film, you got to edit, you got to do the thumbnail, you got to post, you got to promote, you got to do the whole thing. So how did you get to a point where it only took you 4 hours a week?
So I remember being at that point. I was at that point and I was like, holy hell, I'm working 80 hours a week to create all of this content to really push things out. And then again, this is where that book, The One Thing, comes in handy here, in the Pareto's principle, which is like, what's the main thing that is actually driving the needle in your business, and focus solely on that. There's a whole bunch of other things that I was wasting my time on doing at that time. That was, when I was working 8 hours a week, that was just doing it for the sake of doing it, or doing it for busy work, to feel busy, to feel productive. So once I narrowed my focus down and I really determined what those main things were, which was, okay, how I got to create a video. What's the simplest process I can do to create one of these videos that isn't going to be ridiculously, it's not going to take me 8 hours to film, edit, and do all of this stuff. Okay, Now we've gotten that. So I condensed the amount of time that is required for me to make one of those videos. Additionally, hiring. Hiring really helped in creating systems too. So at that time, it was like, okay, what can I hire to get done for customer support? Customer support used to take me so much time for all my customers who bought products and needed help with anything. So once I had a customer support team that could handle billing, could handle any of the functionality things, that took a huge amount off my plate and honestly took away so much mental stress too. Because when you're doing your own customer support, it's tough. Now, where I get my customer support is actually with a platform who also designed my app and also streams my website and all of that. And that's going to be Uscreen. So they have their own customer support in there. Now, if you're not at that point where you can afford a Uscreen or do anything like that, go ahead and Google and look online for different customer support options. Additionally, shoot, I just lost my train of thought. But it was mostly, building out all of the products and then turning it into a subscription base too, because outside of being a content creator and filming and editing and doing all of this stuff, I was constantly creating products and doing sales for them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So once I turned it into a subscription business that was recurring monthly revenue, and I put them all behind one payment wall, and I didn't have to do sales for this one and for that one and this one and that took away so much time. When it comes to actually creating the content, I have my strategy. I've tried out several different ways of creating content. I X'd out the ones that take the most amount of time, are the least fun for me, and I just completely remove that strategy. So finding your content strategy for filming. And then when it comes to editing too, when it comes to editing one of my home workout videos, I throw it into an editing template that I have inside of Vegas Pro that I've created for myself. I just move certain things out, put those pieces in. One of those videos requires me like 30 minutes to edit, if that. Additionally, when you have, when you hire people, you can hire people either in-house, which I've done several times. Those people can help you with, okay, I'm going to film or I'm going to edit for you and I'm going to do the thumbnail and I can do that. However, there's a caveat to that to people that do want to try it. They won't have the same creative eye as you. So when they start filming it, unless you get somebody that's like a film major or really good, the content is going to come out differently from the way that they film it compared to yours. Viewers will notice it, and it can kind of change your pacing for that. So just be wary of that. Additionally, you can go the step of, hiring outside outsourcing help through Fiverr, right? And they've got great deals. You can get a personal assistant on there for $4 an hour. And once you have one of those guys, when it comes to writing an article or something, et cetera, what I was doing was, okay, we'll make one YouTube video, turn it into an article. And I used to write those articles by hand myself. And comparing it to that $4 an hour of what somebody else could do through Fiverr, like my hourly rate is worth 10x that. Now it's worth significantly more. But even when I was little, it was worth 4 or 5x what it would have cost for somebody to do $4 an hour. So outsourcing those types of things to other people as well, video editing services as well. I've tried those. They didn't really work out for me because they couldn't edit in my sense. But I've tried, who have I tried here? VidShops. I've tried, I'm having a tough time remembering all the rest of them there. But outsourcing things to get people to do for cheaper, and also systems that you have in place for filming as well. This is why also I've moved, as you can see, the gym is in the background. You can see my logo. I used to go still to that old client that I used to live with and be their assistant. I used to drive over to their place. It was a 25-minute drive, bring all my equipment, put it in the car, go and drive there. And it would take so long to set up, get mentally into it again. But when I have it here, I'm good to go. Just set the camera up, boom, it's ready. Camera's already charged. Everything's already laid out. That's the best way to save the most amount of time. You can free yourself significantly.
I really like those two things. The one being outsourced and the other being create systems. Because I think for a lot of smaller creators, when they hear outsourced, they think it's going to cost money. But to your point, it doesn't have to cost that much money. It can be something like $4 an hour. But even if that's not an option, systemization is a way that, and is the thing that anyone can do that will save them time. To your point, like creating those systems so you edit every video in the same way, so it only takes you half an hour. So that's just some easy ways for people to kind of claw some of their time back. And in that, I believe it was in that tangent too, you mentioned the subscription business really helped you to free your time as well, because it allowed you to focus on just selling one thing as opposed to selling a bunch of different things. So I'm curious with that one specifically, we don't need to get into like detailed numbers or anything, but did you find that in the short term, having a subscription service instead of multiple products made you less money, but freed up your time to dedicate to making more money elsewhere? Or did you make more money just straight up off the subscription?
No more money straight off the subscription, off of the subscriptions there. And it continuously goes up because if you have a great product, people are going to stay for a lot longer. If you have a terrible product on a subscription, you're dead in the water. And actually, I'll say this too. If you have a bad platform, which I used to have, you'll put subscribers into there and it won't do anything. Like you'll be getting more subscribers in trial and trial and trial, and then you'll lose them. So it's like your numbers are barely going up. So if you have a bad platform, I wish I could say the platform because they were a terrible platform to use and they tried screwing me over pretty badly. Don't go to it. So if you're going to create a subscription product, number one that I'd recommend, who I'm with right now, who has like my subscription platform just going up on autopilot, like it's just continuously going up, I'm not even doing anything for it, is Uscreen. Phenomenal. The platform is great. The checkout process and experience is phenomenal too. So your trial rate will go up significantly. I think after I made the switch from the platforms, changed nothing else about the product. Changed not even the price, nothing. It's 2x for this month in January, but it's close to 2x the amount of trial conversions on months that aren't obviously booming for fitness like January. So if you're going to do that, or there's another one where I've used Kajabi for a long time too. That's a great way to create a membership product. I'm trying out this new one actually, Vonza. It seems they're offering a deal for it on, what is it? AppSumo or something. So it's like $199 for a lifetime. Whereas with Kajabi, with the platform I have to use now, it's like $199 a month. So yeah, when you go ahead and create that type of thing, it makes it so simple. And when you have the great platform, your sales consistently go up and you don't have to worry about, dry months, because normally in like July, August, the dog days of summer, people don't care about fitness. They care about fitness before summer. They care about fitness in September. But those months, there's a lot of months in the year where it's like, you might not make that many sales. But if you have a subscription business, you're going to continuously make a certain amount at bare minimum, but it's progressively leveling up as well. So it makes it a lot easier for mental stress as well.
So how do you make sure you're retaining customers? Like, are you constantly adding in new content to that subscription service?
Well, my subscription service is really robust. It has 8 different programs in there already. So I don't need to. And the price is honestly, it's killer compared to what everybody else is doing. Like I see some programs by guys and it's like, what, $79 US for one program? Like I've 8 in one spot and a membership is $11.99 a month. You can cancel at any time, have access to all of them. So if you compare in that sense, the value of what you have to other people, and you have a ton of information in there, you don't necessarily need to keep adding more. It is always a great idea. However, if you don't have that robust of an archive of content or products and it doesn't compare, then yes, adding in new content into your platform, every once a week, every month, or every other month, whatever your strategy is definitely important. And also you can do strategies like live streaming inside of there as well. And that's the only place that your audience has the ability to access you live, ask questions, or, in the fitness example, you could do a live workout with them. So yeah, those are some of the strategies there.
So with it only requiring 4 hours a week, that's for both YouTube and the subscription business?
Everything.
How do you make sure that, like, obviously you have a team of people working on it, but how do you make sure you're still kind of innovating and spending the time on that? Because, when you first start, you're spending 80 hours a week. So clearly you're dedicating a lot of time to this business. Now doing 4, how do you make sure you're doing everything you possibly could to make sure that's as successful as it could be?
With the product, I'm always looking at the feedback, so reviews. So when people do cancel, which it does happen, especially if you're getting a bunch of subscribers, going through that, finding things. So maybe making it easier for them to access different content, or maybe making it a little bit more clear, or, there's a couple bugs here, fixing those, making the display a little bit better, doing things like that. That will help it. When it comes to innovating outside in other areas of the business, I'll say this. My true passion now is honestly to now teach this stuff, give the information to other people, and try to help them. So with HyperGrow, that's what I'm really focusing on. So when it comes to innovating with Barbarianbody, it's not really my focus right now. I'm just still going to provide the same amount of value that I have provided for the past little bit. I've just gotten so tired of doing it for so long. I just need like a sort of a mental reset. However, that is not what somebody should be doing if they are not at that point where it's kind of a flywheel for them in terms of monetary growth. You should always be innovating, and you should always be trying to focus on how can I make my content better. So I'll focus then on a time when I was really doing that, and this really helped me. So it was like, okay, what are some areas that we can make the content better? Where can we make the business better? One of those decisions was obviously, firstly, let's go ahead and get a better camera. Okay, we got a better camera. And then also microphones too, right? Getting a mic. These are things that I've actually already implemented with Barbarianbody in the past few months. So I guess I could say I have done some upgrades to make the content better. I'm just not currently planning or doing any new ones as of right now. So upgrading your audio. I've always had really terrible audio because it's an echoey gym, and I would just always talk. So getting a mic right there made a significant improvement. That'll help with your average view duration on your videos because people, they expect clear quality audio. In addition, building something like this or building a gym that has your own branding on it, because the other gym I had, I didn't have that, and being able to film there whenever and film whatever you want allows you to get a lot better shots, allows you to spend a lot more time, and if you want to spend a lot more time, and you don't have to waste all this energy getting prepped, getting set up, going out somewhere. So building a place where you can actually film makes it a lot easier. It also helps with that professionalism in your head too, because if you invest the time and the money into it and you start working inside of that environment, you start to believe in yourself a little bit more. It starts to come out in your content more. You talk a little bit more proudly, et cetera, et cetera. Then in other areas as well, that's when outsourcing can come. Maybe there are editors that are better than you. So that's areas that you can focus on as well, or might be increasing the amount of content that you put out. So those are strategies that I had implemented beforehand to really help to take that content to the next level. And then obviously switching the platform from my original platform to now Uscreen as well. These are the things that I've done to make it constantly better and better. That should always be a goal.
And so when did HyperGrow kind of become your focus?
HyperGrow has become my focus in addition to this other small channel that I'm using as a case study for it. Really in the past month now. I'd been building it up for a little bit, and I started building it March of last year, building the set for it, deciding where I wanted to go, creating the website, decide if I was going to do, how I was going to operate the business. There was a lot of work done for that for several months. And then I had to go back in and work on Barbarianbody. So as of the past month, this is now my primary focus. Mind you, I've been on vacation for 2 weeks here. So now I'm really able to finally step into it, do things like this where I can do calls. And then obviously I'm going to focus on creating more content for it as well, because now this is going to be my main thing.
And so how exactly is this one going to work as a business? It's going to be the TikTok, the YouTube? Is there going to be a course or something associated with how is HyperGrow going to work?
Yeah. So originally I was going to do consulting. I went through Sam Oven's consulting accelerator course, and it was immense. It's a beast of a program. Did the whole thing, wrote it out, pages and pages. So then I went through the branding and thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do fully consulting, because I don't like consistently trading my time for money. And regardless of how much you're getting paid, you're not really, it's still just that way in my mind. So my plan is going to be to create a truly in-depth course that's going to share absolutely everything from how to film, how to do everything. And I want to create a really robust course. I've already got started on it primarily with a lot of different pieces inside of it, but I want to create a really robust course. And who knows, maybe that one will become a recurring subscription one too, just because it's financially easier on a lot of people as well, because some of these courses go for 1K, 2K, 5K, 10K. So if you create a more reasonable price one, that might be the way to go. But yeah, it'll be creating a really in-depth course when it comes to growth, which I'm really going to focus on as of next week, because this week is mostly catch-up week, doing a bunch of different things from the vacation. It's going to be TikTok growth, leveraging TikTok to go over to YouTube, because the way you can grow on TikTok, obviously, has been said a million times, is so significantly easier than everywhere else. But you still want to be able to create content for YouTube, if I do decide to fully get back into the YouTube for HyperGrow. So it'll be grow on TikTok, have the links in the bio, mention the links in the bio in your videos, or in the comment section or something, and kind of port that traffic from TikTok over onto YouTube or onto your email list or onto your products or service. and really leverage it like that. TikTok is going to be my main go-to because I like it. It's a lot of fun. It's really easy too, and you can provide a lot of value with a lot more minimal time investment.
And so with the course specifically, or ultimately maybe the subscription service with HyperGrow, is it going to be for how to grow on YouTube, how to grow on TikTok, a combination of the two? Like, what are they going to be learning in this program specifically?
It'll be a combination of the two, but primarily it's going to be about how to grow a business, how to grow your own online brand. It parlays in both. It parlays from growth on TikTok and YouTube. But yeah, how to build a business. So how to do it the best way, to how to avoid, losing money with, a contract with a bad company like I had previously, or how to sort of hack, quote unquote, hack your way to building a business really quickly and how to start generating revenue really quickly. It's about how to do everything properly, how to make it look seamless, how to build the brand, and then also how to build the audience, get them engaged, and then turn that into a community as well.
So with TikTok being the forefront of kind of driving users to this, what's kind of the TikTok strategy for you at the moment?
The TikTok strategy right there is, I haven't fully determined what that is, but off the top of my head, what it would be is just create the content, wait for them to go and see the links in the bio, which is not what you should be doing. So you shouldn't just rely on that. Oh yeah, they'll find it. And the strategy that I've seen a lot of people do is we'll throw the link in the comment section and people will see it, or they'll see, head to my bio and stuff like that. Just it feels contrived. I don't like it like that. It feels like kind of cheap. I think there's a better strategy. And I think one of the better strategies might be providing, case studies of how you're doing this stuff and showing, this is what I did, or this is how I did this. And then when people ask, and they ask you in the comment section, you pin that comment and then you say, well, I've actually explained it all inside of this, as opposed to pinning your own comment and being like, I made this product. You can go there and check that out. It does work. You'll still catch me doing that sometimes, but I want to focus on a better strategy of doing that. So it'll be techniques like that. And then also creating sort of like VSLs and TikToks. So it'll be informational and I'll provide value in that video, but I also want to turn that into sort of, hey, if you really want to learn more about this in the video, then head over here. But without it being like, here, head on over here. I want it to be clever and I want it to work and not so sellouty.
Mm-hmm. No, and I think I've seen some of your videos on the it's because I think it's your name, right? It's Tanner Wyden is the name of the TikTok account right now. Yeah, I've seen some of them, and that's ultimately when I have a list of people I want to reach out to for the podcast. And it was when I saw those TikToks that I add you to the list. So clearly it's working. If I saw it and I took the time to write your name down to try and get you on the podcast.
There we go. That is true.
There you go. Right. So I want to hit you with some YouTube questions, some more higher level stuff. What just general advice to an aspiring content creator would you give to them? Someone who hasn't been able to break through that glass ceiling and grow on YouTube and go full time, or even TikTok if it's more applicable.
So if you've gotten under wraps the SEO, if you've got under wraps the content ideas using what I've mentioned here, reverse engineering, etc., and you're still not seeing growth, and you've been doing it consistently too, like let's say you're on your 40th or 50th video and it's still not breaking through, it's your content. Your content isn't good enough, and it will. One of my favorite techniques to get good at YouTube, and one of the best things, is if you can get to the point. I might not be getting to the point so much here in a podcast because it's off the top of my head, but in a YouTube video, it's about get to the damn point. That's the most important thing. When my channel was really blowing up, that's what people appreciated. They would always comment to that. And the best way to learn that right now is with TikTok. If you set yourself the timer of 15 seconds, because you can do that with the app, and you're going to talk about a topic, you're going to talk about one thing, and you're going to try and explain that one thing in that 15-second period. You're going to get through and you're going to get to like the last 2 seconds and realize, well, I couldn't get that. I need to, and you're going to realize, okay, I got to restart again. And by restarting it and constantly retrying to do it until you can get that info in a 15-second clip that is not, way too watered down, but still presents the information, that's going to teach you to get to the damn point. So if you're in an explainer or a how-to or, that type of a YouTube channel, that is super important. One of the best techniques. Additionally, looking up how to film properly, how to get the proper angles where people can see things. Also using B-roll to add to your videos. Maybe not starting off the video with an intro of, hey, it's Becky from Becky's Kitchen, where we show you guys how to do this, this, and this. And if you guys are new here, like, comment, don't do that. Get to the damn point. take out all that stuff. Don't have like a 15-second vlog type of an intro. Get to the information. Give them the meat and potatoes right at the beginning. If you want to add that little stuff, you're branding, add it little bits through in the video, maybe 1-2 seconds, flash your logo or have a little pop-up on screen of, a lower third showing, the brand or what products you have to offer. Do it like that. But yeah, if you're not growing, you're not breaking through, you're doing everything else that's right, the content sucks, address the content, make it better.
For you, you said you're a big fan of the Pareto principle, the one thing. Looking back, what are those 20% of actions you took that have led to 80% of your results?
So, one was switching the product over, all the products into a subscription base. Number 2 would be creating those systems and frameworks for editing. Number 3 would be the gym, setting that up, having a place to film and, not being concerned about, can somebody hear me? I don't want to sound like an idiot for messing up, because that can stifle you a lot. So, if you live at home and you're at that age where you're like 19, 20, maybe move out, set yourself up, a nice studio. What else was there? I had realized that, making 15 to 20 Instagram stories a day was not driving me revenue very much at all. So as opposed to doing 15 to 20, now I'll do like, maybe 3 or 4. But it took me a lot of time to constantly start and stop. This is the thing. It's not that these tasks take a lot of time. It's the mental transition from one task to another, which I think takes about 20 minutes to get fully back into your zone. And that 20-minute period when you're trying to get back into it, super unproductive. You're pretty much getting nothing done. So by constantly throughout the day, I'm going to film this on my IG story and this on my IG story and this and this and this and this. And then you go through and you review them, because let's be honest, we all do it. Did I get views on this? That took up so much of my time. So I completely, I didn't fully erase it, but I removed like 80%, 90% of doing that.
What's something you believe about YouTube or TikTok or just kind of social media in general that you think most people don't believe?
Us as entrepreneurs, we think of it as, obviously it can be a business or it is a business, but that would be primarily my main thing. There's still a lot of people that are stuck in the mindset of, well, you're just an influencer. I get mad whenever my little sister says that, you're an influencer. And I'm like, no, it's a business. I'm not just somebody posting butt pics online and getting likes for no reason, because those people are broke. There's a story of the girl that had millions of followers on IG. She launched some product or something and sold like 3 of them. And it's because it was t-shirts, right? And it's about, we're actually businesses, and you don't want to treat it as just, let's try and get as much attention as possible. Let's get the right attention, provide them with value, not just with something that they can look at. And once you provide them with value, you can exchange value in the form of the monetary sense. So to everybody watching, and you as well, it probably seems obvious. Yes, building these brands online is for business, but a lot of people still don't see that.
And another thing with that too, a lot of people don't realize is if you focus on building a brand and a business as opposed to just building attention, you can go full time a lot sooner. Like I've had a guy on this podcast named Jay Swanson, who I think he went full time on YouTube with 40,000 subscribers because he had over 2,000 patrons. And that was more than enough for him to take the jump. And so like, if you build a really tight knit community that has a solid brand, you can take the jump and be a full-time creator way sooner than if you're just trying to make money off of brand deals.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. That's interesting. 40K, 2,000 subscribers on Patreon too. Wow.
Yeah, that was wild.
He must have been really providing some value back there. That's good with 40K subs.
Yeah, it was crazy. This is a question I ask everybody, but you're kind of the perfect person to ask because you're actually doing this. As I normally ask, if you had to start all over again tomorrow from zero, how would you grow? But you're kind of in that position now. So like we've kind of talked, but for someone right now that's in a similar position that's starting from 0, what should they do to grow?
So actually I'm doing it with one of my case study YouTube channels. Obviously on TikTok with HyperGrow. Now that I'm starting to put all my eggs in that basket, TikTok with that one, because the value of a TikTok follower is significantly lower than a YouTube subscriber. I can't remember the conversion of that or the percentage of it, but it's still an audience, and that audience can port to YouTube where you can provide them more value. And then obviously they turn into that. So starting with TikTok is tremendous. If your brand or your content that you're creating is your front man, or front woman, you're the one on camera, super simple. And it helps you get really good at content. So that'd be one of the best ways. Now with this YouTube channel that I started, the secondary one, or I guess tertiary, I've got a few things here. This one took off in like 8 weeks. And the amount of views that it was getting at that time was like I think we got it up to 8,000 views every 48 hours on it. How I did that was, again, reverse engineer, find the exact content that people want, try to create that content. The very first, when you start it, it's not going to be good. The content's not going to be good. You're going to think it's good. After doing it for like 3 or 4 weeks, you'll look back and you'll say, wow, there's a lot of change here. And you constantly want to try and look forward and be like, what can I add to this? What can I change to this? What can I do to make it better? So that's going to be part of the process. But the main thing that helped me to really take advantage of that was I was creating this at the perfect time. And that was during Christmas time. People were looking for Christmas types of videos. And this niche that I'm making was like an ambience niche. So I went about creating content specifically for that, made the exact type of videos that I knew that they were looking for, and made it as best as I could so that they would actually come by. And because of that, I timed the content, I timed the type of content, and I made it as best as I could. It really helped it to take off in such a substantial way that that kind of growth took me over a year, I think, with Barbarianbody to first start. So timing that, taking advantage of trends as well, and making the content really good that people want.
I think what's interesting, and for a lot of people to note down, is you've had this success on YouTube. But when it comes to HyperGrow, you're seeing such a big opportunity on TikTok. You're focusing on TikTok more than YouTube for your new business.
Yeah, and it's easier to make the content there too. It's a lot more fun. It's a good change, right? I've been doing it the same way for a long time. It's fun to do it in this other way. It's more of a challenge.
It's fun, and it's to your point, it's easier. I didn't edit them, but I recorded, I think, 2 weeks worth of TikToks, like almost 20 TikToks in 26 minutes yesterday.
Really?
I have to go because I like set up my camera and I talk to the camera, but I script everything before. But like just the act of recording, 26 minutes was the time on the audio when I hit finish.
So how did you do that? Did you have 26 ideas already written out, or did you just think of them on the spot?
No, I had all the ideas written out. So things, about 20 ideas written out. So I had the scripts, and they're very short, right? Like I aim for the 12 to 15 second mark because that's what my retention tends to be, around 10, 12 seconds. So I aim for that. And I just script out the ideas, and then I just talk to camera and do it super quick. And it takes me less than half an hour.
Are you holding the camera, or do you have it on a tripod?
No, I set up a tripod. So I got to go through and edit them all in Premiere and everything after that. But just the act of recording itself took me 26 minutes. But again, if you're doing it on your phone and you don't have to edit on Premiere, do all these things, you can probably you can do it on your phone. You can still record TikTok super quickly. So it may not be 26 minutes to do 20, but because I still have to edit, so that adds time. But if you're doing it on your phone, it doesn't take a lot of time at all.
Yeah, and if you do it in the bulk way, I guess you could just throw them in the drafts too. Draft, boom, let's do the next one. Draft, boom, edit it later, right?
100%.
That's interesting. 26 and 20 minutes. Oh, wow.
Over 20 and 26 minutes.
Oh, sorry. It's still incredible.
Yeah, so it's great to do it that way. I want to ask you who's somebody you've seen that on YouTube or TikTok who's doing a really, really good job, that if people want to know how to grow, go look at what this person's doing, because that's interesting.
Let me pull him up. This kid came first to mind. I really like this guy. He's young. He's got that, because when you first start, you got that juice. Like you can see that passion like that. It slowly dwindles a little bit after I've been doing this for so long. You still love it. It's just not like that absolute fresh passion, or at least the way that he's able to portray it. So if you just give me a second here, I'll try and, okay. Actually, I'll give you two guys. This, Bayahiza, what's his actual name? Bayahiza, I guess.
Oh, I think I've heard of him. He used to be a lot of drop shipping stuff, right?
This kid?
Okay.
Yeah. This kid's really good. That wasn't my initial one, but that kid's really good. The main one I'm thinking of, Tejas Hewler. I really hope I'll send you the, so it's this kid right here. So maybe I can get it to play. Oops. So he does videos about, he'll explain all of his journey about creating content, and how he's becoming a content creator and how he's turning it into a full-time thing. He mentions the creator economy a lot, which is a trendy word now. But his stuff is really, really good. The way he films his videos, they're so interesting. They're really informative, but most importantly, he does it in a storytelling way, which is something that I wish I could get better at, and which I'm trying to get better at. But that's what makes him so engaging. So it's not just like these viewers that are watching him are a certain amount of people. It's a certain amount of people that are significantly more engaged with him because of how he storytells about his life, what is happening throughout the day to day. That's why his name popped to the top of my head.
I like that. And you said too, now that you're 6 years in, is it 6 years?
Yeah, I think about 6 years.
6 years, you say you kind of lose that fire a little bit just from doing it for so long. And I heard in an interview somewhere else, you said you have zero motivation all the time. So what keeps you going then if you have zero? Because a lot of people, I think they get a twisted where they think motivation is what keeps them going. So what keeps you going all the time to do all this stuff?
That's funny, that. The secret is motion. Motion creates emotion. I've learned now that motivation is earned. It's not gifted. That's a term that I've been saying a lot. I came up with myself, our copyright registered. So when you just get started and you start just doing the damn thing, because we can all, honestly, I feel like motivation is actually drained because of how much media there is to consume. You're like, well, I could just scroll TikTok for another 5 more minutes. An hour and a half goes by. So it's when you actually just you start getting the train going. So when I start the day, firstly, I'm reading. This is why, again, when I was really booming and I was really growing there in 2018, 19, and through 2020 as well, it was because I was reading. So when you're taking in a lot of different ideas, that gets you excited and it starts to be like, well, I could do this, or I could apply this to my business, or I could do this myself. And that stuff kind of gives you the motivation. But again, you have to go out there and get it. You can't just sit there and be like, today I'm ready to just go kill it. I had that for the first year and a half. But, for me personally, after that time went by, it was like, okay, the motivation isn't there all the time. And it's the same thing with fitness as well. I'm never motivated to work out, but I still do it. And I do it a lot more than everybody else. And I get a lot more results than everybody else. So it's not something to be fearful of. It's just, how can I find new ways to create this motivation by bringing in new sources and then getting yourself going? So for an example of fitness, I get on the treadmill, I just start walking for 8 minutes. Now my heart rate's up. I've got endorphins kicking. I've got, serotonin going as well, happy chemicals. Then it's like, wow, I'm ready to kill this. And I've got my music on. I've put myself in the perfect place to earn the motivation. The same thing with working. When I come down here after I've done my workout, after I've done my reading and I've got my ideas and stuff, and I sit down, it's like, okay, now I'm motivated to do it. Beforehand, not so much for me.
How often do you reflect on the whole journey? Going back to Fit Fast, those days of nothing but ramen noodles for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, to where you are now. You have this successful business that only requires 4 hours of your time. You're building up multiple other YouTube channels. You're starting another business. Like, how often do you just look back on this whole journey?
Probably a little bit more than I should, because I'm really proud of it. And it's a crazy story. It's so unique because to us as creators, it's like, yeah, it's kind of, we all do it. But when you compare it to what other people are doing, and I know you shouldn't compare yourself, but this is for the purpose of, looking at how much you've done compared to the average person. That's when I'm really like, wow, this is nuts. Like, this life I get to live is totally ass backwards compared to what everybody else gets to live. And it's so freeing and it's so fun. And you can make so much money from it by helping out so many people. So I like to look back at it a lot, because that's what also helps me to add a little bit of that motivation by consciously looking back at how far I've come. And it allows you to be grateful too. And honestly, gratitude is, I used to think it was the stupidest thing. I thought people are just like, oh yeah, it's my gratitude journal. I'm going to write in this every single day. People forget to look back and see like how cool everything is compared to what it used to be. So I think it's incredibly helpful. It helps with mental health. And it brings you into a positive mindset, because I remember years ago, I did dreamed of being in this position and being able to do this and doing interviews, actually talking about this. Like, I've watched interviews of successful people for years growing up and be like, I wish, or whenever I get there, I'm going to be able to say it like this. I'm just realizing this now as I'm explaining this. It's really cool how that happened. That you get to do that. So it's super important. You don't need to do it all the time, but it helps you with your gratitude.
100%. I love that. For my last question, I like to flip the script a little bit. So instead of me asking the question, it's you asking the question, but it's not to me. So pretend you have a crystal ball. You can ask this crystal ball any question. You'll get the 100% honest answer. What is one question you want to know the answer to?
Man, that's so good. That's a good question. What would that question be? I would probably ask, am I doing everything throughout my day-to-day that is required of me to get to my top level? So am I handling everything that I need to do to get there? Am I eating the right way? Am I taking in the right information? Am I discluding certain information? Am I discluding certain people from my life? That would be it.
I like that. I like that a lot, man. But I want to thank you so much for taking time to come on the podcast. I want to give you the floor now. I know we've talked about everything kind of throughout here, but where can the people find you? Plug anything and everything you got right now.
So if you're looking for more tips or information on how to grow a business, not just your social media channels, I will tell you how to do that. TikTok and YouTube I'm good at, but build the business behind it. You can find me on TikTok at Tanner Weidman. And if you're looking for more of my in-depth YouTube videos that I've put out, I have a YouTube channel there. You just go to Tanner Weidman of HyperGrow. And I think that's pretty much it. I don't really want to or need to plug too much. I'll let them find me organically outside of just this, but I appreciate you very much, Jake.
Awesome. I appreciate it. I'll make sure everything's linked in the show notes down below so people can find it. But I want to thank you once again for taking time to come on the podcast. I want to thank everybody for listening, whether you listen the entire way through or you only listen to bits and pieces. I really appreciate you taking time to check this out. Everyone, do me a favor. Like I said, everything will be linked in the show notes down below so you can find it. If you want to learn how to grow on social, grow your business, or grow your body, you can check that out in the show notes down below and find Tanner there. And if you'd like to follow me, you can find me everywhere on social media at the Jacob Kelly. Feel free to come and say hello. My DMs are always open. As always, today's podcast is powered by Surf. Thank you once again for listening. We'll talk soon.